Hello, Assalamu alaikum, good evening. Welcome to another program of the Classics Show. I am your host, Shabnum, Riaz. As always, it's a wonderful time of the week to be here discussing books, discussing literature, discussing all those things that are so important to oneself and reconnecting with our literary side. And everybody has that chance to reconnect, to pick up a book, to explore the world that is out there, that a book has to offer. So today we're very lucky to have with us in our studios a very special guest, a person who has, devoted his life to writing, to indulging in the creative arts as well. We are very happy to have with us Dr. Ikram Azam, who is a former federal secretary, a writer, an author, an artist, an author of over 200 books, mashallah, and you have edited over 50 books as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Ikram Azam, for joining us here today.
It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Likewise, it's wonderful to have you on the program, because the point of this program actually is to inspire others, to inspire people and to bring them back to the world. We have many people who are involved with literature, who enjoy reading, who are writers as well, aspiring writers. The point of this program is to inspire those people as well who want to come back to literature, or who are actually aspiring writers who want to show their work to others as well. Now, tell us about yourself, Dr. Ikram Azam. Tell us about your childhood.
Well, for that we have to go back to the last century. But don't ask me my age, because I'll tell you a lie. It's human nature. Not only women are afraid of telling their ages, men too are. We are all alike.
Okay, right. No, I'm not asking your age.
After I retired and somebody asked me my age, and my friend said, "Oh, you've gotten old." I said, "No, I've wiped out all the old lines and I'm a teenager still."
That's good. That's a fantastic attitude. I think that's an attitude that everyone should have, because the way you think and the way you actually think of yourself is the way you're going to develop that mindset and take things further.
That's right. I think of course, age is inevitable.
Yes, of course.
Senescence, decay, so-and-so, disease, death, grieving. That's all part of life. The challenge is how to grow older gratefully, counting our blessings, and gracefully.
I love that term, great, because we hear the term growing old gracefully, but gratefully is a really good one.
Yes, we have to count our blessings. And thank God for that, and thank life for that.
That's fantastic.
And thank our country for that, for providing us all those opportunities.
Fantastic. That's a wonderful mindset to have, because it's actually infectious. The mindset that you carry around does rub off on other people.
We have to learn to grow with time, with life. Adaptability is very important in life. Adjustability. We can't change things. We can only change ourselves and grow. Not like a changeling, but grow, develop again gracefully. Pardon me. And you see, I've done a lot of work on creativity as a creative writer and researcher and thinker. And I feel, according to my analysis, God has blessed every individual, Muslim, non-Muslim, boy, girl, with 3 or 4 innate blessings. We are born with them. One is our conscience. The second is the moral mind. And the third is creativity. He's the supreme creator, but we are many creators. So it's the role and responsibility of the parents and the teachers and the family to develop these talents in the children.
Right.
And I believe that, for instance, terrorists or people who adopt a negative attitude towards life, they become that because their creativity has not been developed, rather it's been suppressed. Children, when they are growing up, they're very naughty. These days I'm watching my grandchildren and getting to know them. the more intelligent they are, the naughtier they are.
Absolutely true.
And they want to, and that's because they want attention.
And they're also curious.
Yes, and you have to give them attention. Otherwise, they get put off. Like, I've just had a grandson who's about now 2 months old. And his older sister now goes to school, and she's about 5. So sibling rivalry.
Of course, of course.
So she, in the beginning, felt threatened. Who's this boy who's coming to this? Gradually, I told her parents, I said, pay her as much attention as you used to before, so that she doesn't feel neglected. And I pay her a lot of attention,
Right.
And then I sing them nursery rhymes, rock-a-bye baby, go to sleep, in my rocking chair. And but I've changed it a little. Rock-a-bye baby, Allahu. Rock-a-bye baby. And my grandson, when he's in my lap, and he recognizes instinctively the arms and the lap of his parents, mother and father.
Yes.
When he comes to me, he looks at me, at a stranger, he starts crying a little for his parents, and then I start singing that lullaby, rock-a-bye baby, Allahu. He calms down and he goes to sleep, Allahu.
Okay.
And sometimes he puts his hands to his ears, and I laugh. I said, he's going to say the azan.
Right. And that reminds me of a funny quote, actually, that I always repeat. It's a quote is that the reason that grandparents and grandchildren get along so well is because they have a common enemy. So, so it's like they have some, our parents did this, and then you say, okay, so you have that common, well, that's just a light-hearted sort of attitude towards it. Okay, now, as you're talking about your relationship with your grandchildren, and, it's so important to give them attention. Now, in today's fast-paced lifestyles, where usually both parents are working, we see this sort of a pattern where young children are given lots of gadgets to sort of keep them busy. How do you think that affects their creativity?
Right. You see, creativity is always there in them, which seeks expression. And you have to create an atmosphere, There are 4 sociological processes in life, by which, and that is a process of lifelong education, formal, informal, non-formal, okay? And the 4 lifelong sociological processes are, number 1, nurturing at home, upbringing. Second, formal education in a school to begin with. Third is general socialization, how you get to know your society and its values. And then the 4th is a culturalization, specific to your own culture. And you get introduced to world culture also. It's a comparative study, culture into civilization, so that your horizon is widened of the children. And these have to go along all lifelong. And it's the role and the responsibility, both of the parents, as I said earlier, and the teachers, and the environment in which you are, to cultivate these faculties.
Right.
If I can give my own example.
Exactly, that's what I was going to ask you. Where was your nurturing? How? Describe that to us.
Well, we were all, fortunately, educated at the Presentation Convent School. Before partition, after partition, or independence, I should be saying. It was a very, and the classes were small, 10 to 12 to never more than 20 or 25 students. And it was co-educational, so double desks, a girl and a boy sitting together, and we were friends, and we'd tease each other also and play pranks. Our teachers, they encouraged us. They taught me art. Art was a required subject till 6th standard. And then, of course, junior, pre-junior, junior, pre-senior, senior, it was elective. I had art throughout. And my teachers encouraged my writing also, essay writing, autobiographical essays, the story of a shoe, the story of a book, and of course, every class had its own little library, a couple of cupboards
Very
full
important.
of books. And then at home also. We didn't have TV at that time. We had radio. And radio had very select programs, educational programs. And our parents gave us a lot of time, you know. Our father, who went to office, at that time, I think the office timings were 9 to 4. But he would spend the night meal, you know, supper, as the British called it, early, you know, dinner. It would be a family dinner. And we'll sit around at the table, and he would ask us about our, you know, schoolwork, homework, and specific magazines for children, you know, Urdu and English. It was a multilingual atmosphere. My father, he was a multilinguist. Urdu, Punjabi, Persian, Arabic. He also knew Kashmiri.
Fantastic.
And French and German.
Excellent.
And he introduced me to, or all of us, to Umar Khayyam. And I still have his volume of Umar Khayyam, leather bound, probably late 19th century or early 20th century. You know?
Amazing.
It's a souvenir.
Of course.
And he encouraged us to write. And then in school, we had teachers who encouraged writing, who encouraged that. And then later on in life, I can never forget Faiz Saab. He always encouraged me to write. And Mrs. Faiz, Alice Faiz, whom we used to call Appa Jaan.
Okay.
She encouraged my writing skills.
Right.
So I was very fortunate,
Right.
you know.
So tell me about your, you know, interaction with Faiz Saab. How did you feel when you presented him with something you'd written? Were you very conscious of the fact that, you know, he was going to give you some feedback on it? Tell us about that.
Well, I got to know the Faizes how, let me see. Yes, Mrs. Faiz, she used to run the women's page and what they called the Young Readers League, you know. And I would write for her, for the essays, stories, little poems, and she always published them. She always encouraged me. And later on, she was the editor of the Viewpoint Weekly, there too. And then, of course, again, the Feroz sons, Dr. Waheed, he was a wonderful man. They had a magazine, a literary magazine called the Pakistan Review. Invariably, they would publish my work. They would encourage a comparative kind of study. Senior writers and editors as an example, role model for us budding authors. So Waheed Saab, again, of the Feroz sons, he encouraged me a great deal. He published a couple of my books also. And wonderful. I was very fortunate. Even during
what were your feelings like the first time you saw something that you had written and it was published? What were your feelings? How old were you?
Oh, great. Again, that reminds me of, I used to have a scrapbook.
Okay.
And originally I was published in magazines and newspapers and all that. Then one day, that was in Lahore, and we were paying guests, you know, with the landlady, I think Mrs. Ghulam Rasool. I still remember something P block.
Okay.
So the little boy, a little servant of the landlady, he sold my things, you know, as scrap. So I was looking for, and I couldn't find them in the proper place. Then it just struck me. I asked him, I said, Beta, did you see my scrapbooks and paper? He said, sir, I sold them as Radhi.
Oh my God.
And
how did
I laughed at his innocence, you know.
Oh.
I said, he's an innocent boy. That was the only worth these things had for him. I was depressed for a couple of days.
Must have been.
And then I took it as a challenge.
Okay.
I said, I'll things, newspapers and magazines get lost, I'll publish my first book. And that's how I decided to publish my first book.
That is your inspiration.
I think it was either, three books, a short novel, a book of poems, and a book of stories.
Okay,
This
so
was,
you were sort of like, you were into the poetry, you were into the short stories as well.
Yeah.
Where did you find that you were most drawn to, or was it?
well, in school, again, there was a lot of emphasis on role model writers, and we were introduced to, tales from Shakespeare, Charles and Mary Lamb, and then shorter versions of the novels. And then they were play acted also, and play reading in the class and all that. So we were greatly inspired, motivated by the literature that we read. And then, of course, I had literature throughout. I did my honors in English from the Gordon College, Pinde. And I had a first class and second position in the university. And first position went to my colleague and my friend, Mr. Muzaffar Mahmood Qureshi, who later became a Rhodes Scholar and Balliol College, PPE, and retired as a Federal Secretary also. You need to get to meet them also. And Mufti Saab, again, retired as a Federal Secretary. He was the only one, first class first in MA English. No?
Right.
In our time, MA English in the Punjab University was once in a decade. And before us, I think the first was Miss Gulzar Bano. No? You know of her. She was the first woman Federal Secretary of the Government of Pakistan. Then there was Pramila Thomas. From her father was, I think, the principal of the Marak College, Sialkot. She married an American and went abroad. Then there was Savak Katrak, a Parsi. He got a Rhodes Scholarship also, and he went abroad also, never came back. And then in our time, after I think over a decade or more, Mufti Muhammad Lutfullah, he got a first class fellow. Ruqayya Hassan was a class fellow, who died a couple of years ago. Among the top linguists of the world, Ruqayya Hassan. And there was Parveen Hassan also, and sometimes we get together, old class fellows. There's still, some of them are here.
When you get together, what do you talk about? What is the main sort of nostalgia that you share? When you all get together and you talk about
it's there are three things. Human beings, we live in the past, we live in the present, and we live in the future also.
Yeah.
So it's all very interactive.
Right.
The past is a dream, and there's a lot of nostalgia in it. And we forget the bitter things,
That's
and we
always a
remember
good
the
idea.
good things.
Right.
And the present is a challenge, of survival.
Yes.
And how to cope with it, again, peacefully, pleasantly. My generation and I, we believe a lot in peace, and I've written a lot about peace. And Pakistan Futuristics Foundation and Institute, we are devoted to peace, And then, of course, you met my sister.
Definitely.
Laura.
Yes, I did.
She passed away a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Now we are doing 4 projects in her name. Because she was a single woman, and she willed everything to be with the will that all her money should be used for doing educational projects at Sadqa Jariya, charity in perpetuity in her name. So now we have 4 projects. One project is, she was an employee of the Directorate of Army Education. So she was getting a pension from the Ministry of Defense. And she was the founder principal, and she retired from there, Lala Zar, Kent Garrison Girls Secondary School. And now the armed forces, the Directorate of Army Education, very kindly, they are doing, and it of course it'll be in their custody. They are building Dr.Ikram Azam Memorial In-Service Teachers Training Institute.
Okay.
And we are contributing 6 million out of our funds. That's one
great.
project. The second project is there's this college, the oldest college for women, F72 postgraduate college, and hopefully it will soon become a university. Incidentally, the principal of that college was a student of my sister. And she requested me, she invited me to their 23rd March celebrations. And she said, we have books, about 50,000. And they have furniture, but their books are scattered. The library is scattered in the various rooms. She requested if we could, create a structure for them, build a library for them in the name of Dr. Azam. That's another 6, 7, 8 million project.
Fantastic.
The biggest project is Zumurat Khan's Sweet Homes. So that will be about, I think, 1 to 2 crore rupees. So we are selling her house to raise funds for that. So that will be Dr. Azam Peace Campus, model school, teachers training institute, computer lab, library, and art gallery.
That's fantastic.
And finally, we'll buy a bit of land in Islamabad. That'll be in our hands. We'll run it, the PFI, Dr. Azam Peace Campus. She incidentally, she was a globetrotter. We participated in a lot of international conferences, sometimes going together, sometimes going separately. And projecting Islam as the perennial peace paradigm and Muhammadi moral model. The original Islam of Allah.
Removing
and
the
Quran.
misperceptions.
And the West liked it, And in 2014, the International Institute of Advanced Studies, Canada, in which 3 countries are involved, Canada, Germany, and Japan, they conferred their Peace Award on her. For promoting peace through literature and through education. And luckily they conferred 3, it's a hat trick, they conferred 3 awards on me, a Peace Award, an award for art, and an award for literature.
That is amazing.
So, Alhamdulillah,
Right.
People abroad, you get recognition on merit.
Exactly.
It's not that you have to
True.
beg for it.
That's absolutely true. So how can we sort of inspire our youngsters? How can we inspire our children to come forward, to bring out their creativity? What can we do as?
We have to be role models, genuine role models, not media models, genuine role models, parents and teachers. We cannot have double standards, one for ourselves and, on the sly, do all the naughty things.
Because children will pick up straight away on everything that is contrasting or hypocrisy. A child will be able to spot that a mile away.
Well, you see, children are imitators.
Yes.
They learn by imitation. Now I'm watching and I'm learning child psychology all over again from my grandchildren. I'm watching them. They imitate us. They learn how to speak from us. They learn how to question from us. And so we have to learn to behave ourselves. Earlier you said about reading habits, We have to go back to the library again.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. The importance of libraries and the library culture.
That's true. And in our times, declamation contests, debates, etc., we were given books as prizes, awards. Now they give them money.
True.
And of course, the money is used for junk food.
That is amazing. What you've just said there is so profound.
We have to go back to gifting books to children.
I really, what Dr. Azam is saying right now, I think is really, really a gem of advice that when we want to really positively make a change, these are the little things we just need to do. Presenting a book to a child on their birthday, as a gift, as a reward for something, it's a fantastic thing to do.
And that's why my sister and I, we used to gift our own books,
Right.
Again, that's a kind of, our books are written primarily for students, for the youth. men and women, in order to inspire them. And there's a lot of food for thought in that, in order to motivate them. And then again, you're talking about writing skills, creative writing skills. I think we need to start classes in creative writing. In fact, have degree programs in creative writing, talking about
But we need them at an earlier age. We need them at an earlier age.
Yeah. Well, there's a
Creative
lot of
writing.
talent.
Yes, a lot of
The
talent.
students are, especially girls. My experience is that our girls are, they're far smarter than the boys. They have a lot of time to play around, to waste. They're good students too, boys too. But some of my best students, MPhil, PhD, and I still have a couple of students on hand who are doing the MPhil, PhD. Informally, I'm their guide. Formally, they're deans and they're professors and heads of the department and supervisors. They refer them to me, They say, well, we have no time. Go to Dr. Saab.
Right.
And it's a pleasure to guide students.
And to just imagine
And
that,
it's all gratis,
Right,
And
okay.
it's a wonderful experience.
It is.
And two or three of my girl students, those who boys and girls who remain in touch, they become a part of the extended family.
That's fantastic.
And
what greater satisfaction and contentment to know that, something that you have picked up from all the years, that wisdom, that knowledge, that education is something actually to be shared and to be passed down.
And for that, we have to remain students, because we have to interact with students and to get to know their needs and get to their level.
Okay, now you've touched on a very important point here, perspective. How many of us are able to actually look at things from another person's point of view? Because isn't that really the success behind relationships and many other aspects in life?
Well, we have to get back to the old values, moral values, spiritual values, social values, cultural values, humane values. I love the word altruism, which is really compassionate love, caring and sharing love, but without any motive. You don't want anything in return.
That's true.
I believe that the best kind of love after God is that of the parents, both father and mother, but especially the mother. I've seen how my daughter-in-law, and since I don't have a daughter, so she's both my daughter as well as my daughter-in-law and my friend. There's a lot of understanding between us, and I think sometimes I feel that there's greater understanding between her and me than me and my son.
Right, that's fantastic.
And sometimes when I want to communicate with him, it is through her.
Okay. Right. So tell us, this is exactly something that's very important, this relationship that you've defined. When people tend to get older in any society, not just ours, globally, they tend to think of themselves as going into seclusion, or they tend to think of themselves as being lonely. So how do you sort of break that wall, and what changes can you make as an individual to reconnect with everyone and to enjoy a better quality of life?
If you have a hobby and a mission in life, and you care for people, you'll never feel lonely.
True.
You would want moments of seclusion. We all need our spaces, and that's very necessary. And the closer you are, the more spaces you need. But then, again, if you have a mission in life, and my mission in now my sister's project,
right.
I'm not bothered about my son and daughter-in-law. Mashallah, they're on their own feet, and she's an architect.
Okay.
But these days she's a housewife, and he's done his MBA, and together, and there are a number of architects in our family. Two of my nephews. One of my niece's daughter, she's just become an architect, got a job.
Okay.
And my Samdiji, you know, my daughter-in-law's father, he's an architect too. So it's a family of engineers and architects
Okay.
and construction people. So for the present, she's looking after the children. But, you know, how she responds to her children's need, how she cares for them. No. No man can be really a substitute. No father can be a substitute for the mother. You know? I grew up in a family where the majority was women, you know, 5 sisters, and my father and 3 sons, 3 brothers. So we were outnumbered. And our father taught us how to respect women.
Oh, that is the, actually you've just hit the nail on the head, because the father's role is just so pivotal in any family, especially in our part of the world where we have a patriarchal system and where we need those role models.
Absolutely.
And I think, you know, fathers as such as yourself, as your father, my own father, these are heroes, because what they're doing is they are setting the temperature for all those relationships that are going to come afterwards for a young man.
And our father used to say, if you want to please me, please your mother. And our mother used to say, if you want to please me, please your father.
That is amazing. That is the best formula, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. So there was, I'm sure they must have had their differences,
Of
but
course.
they never came out. Must have been.
Never let the children know.
Yeah, never in front of the children. And, you know, we named our granddaughter after my mother. Her name was Musawwir, Musawwir Jan, one of the 99 names of God, you know. So we call her Musawwiri. And also Hibba, gift of Musawwiri. Hibba is gift.
Yes.
So Musawwiri is grandmother's gift to the
Beautiful.
To the progeny. And similarly, we've named our grandson Muhammad Ali. And he resembles my elder brother, you know, who passed away again 2 years ago. And the same little dimpled smile.
It's amazing how we carry generations within us.
Yes.
So, you know.
So I think family values are very important, and that includes friends, you know. They're part of the extended family, and real good friends, they are part of the family.
That's
They're
very
like
true.
brothers and sisters.
So how would you say, you know, of course, societies evolve, technology changes, a person has to be adaptable. You can't seclude yourself to, say, life 20 years ago, because things are changing, you've got to keep up with the times. How would you view the impact of social media on family bonding? How would you?
I think we need to discuss these issues, but not in the popular sense, you know. It has to be by professionals. And it should not be a case of confrontation, one versus the other, but a reconciliation. How to bring them together, create better understanding. We have to have psychotherapists, we have to have psychiatrists doing these programs, and not popular programs, you know, laymen, educated laymen talking about these issues. No, these issues are too serious to be discussed in a flippant manner, in a frivolous manner. There's another thing I'd like to talk about. You mentioned earlier education.
Yes.
Education in Pakistan.
Absolutely.
I'm one with all of those who say that we need one system of education, but it should be an international system, no? Really high standard, where we need a balance between the humanities and the social sciences and language and literature. Specifically about English. We need English.
Of course.
It's an international language.
Yes.
Now, traditionally, we were brought up on English literature, masters from the Government College Lahore, and then honors in English from Gordon College because language, we were so well groomed in language and the English language at the school level and the college level that there was no need for language later at the special.
The foundations were very good.
Right. Now we have three streams. One is the traditional literature, and that is really literature, classical literature and all that. The second stream is like the Numal, the focus is on linguistics. And now they're turning, what we really need is, of course, all these three options should be available at the tertiary level, university level, where you want to specialize. But what Pakistan really needs is 20th, 21st century modern English.
Of course, of course.
As including creative writing, as English as an international instrumental language.
Absolutely.
A means of education and communication and science and technology and diplomacy and whatnot.
Of course, of course. Okay, Dr. Ikram, we'll come back to this discussion right now. Right now we're going for a break. Don't change the channel. Okay, welcome back to the program. Dr. Ikram, share some memories of, you know, the initial days of the concept of Pakistan, and what was the feeling then?
Well, I've written a lot about Pakistan also, about Islam, particularly political Islam. And one of my books about Pakistan is, it's in English, but the title is Nazariya-e-Pakistan, The Vision of Pakistan, and Islam. So it was really and inspired by Islam, which the founders of Pakistan, both men and women, and they were great thinkers. And as I call them, they were Islami pragmatic visionary futurists. They were futurists in their own time, because they visualized Pakistan when it did not exist. And within a few decades, they created Pakistan. So they are really role model futurists, men and women of thought and action. You know, Islamic thought and Islamic action. But it was, their Islam was very modern, futuristic, and for all times, you know. And it did not, it wasn't the Islam of sectarianism or terrorism or extremism. That's where I got that idea from. Islam, the perennial peace paradigm and Muhammadi moral model. And they wanted to create an Islamic welfare state and society. And inshallah, I think the kind of leadership that's emerging, and we've had, of course, we've had setbacks also, but we need not, you know, lose hope. In fact, we need to be hopeful, and we will all together, the young, especially the future belongs to the younger generations, to the
who are so promising,
and the women, and we have to train them and groom them for their future leadership roles. And according to Islam, a leader is a khadim, khudam, servant of the people. No, not a tyrant, you see. So those are the kind of things. That is how we need to teach Islam as peace, Islamic studies as peace, and interpret hukuk Allah in terms of hukuk al-abad.
Exactly.
Social service, community
Which is
service.
exactly, but you know, what you're saying is so important, that the service to Allah's people.
Absolutely.
That is what He has said to us. He said, if you want to reach me, reach me through my people.
Absolutely. And the onus lies on us Muslims, we Muslims. We need to practice Islam as peace, live Islam as peace.
And then when we talk about peace, it's not, peace comes from every single action that we take, every reaction that we give, every thought we cultivate, and every behavior we act out.
Absolutely, yes. And friendship is the best way to peace. You know? And
So
And I
let's
think
talk about tolerance then.
That's the best answer to Islamophobia. The only way you can defeat Islamophobia is peacefully. Diplomacy, courtesy, friendship. You know, there are three of us, three friends. One is a German Jew, one is a Canadian Christian, and I, a Pakistani. We are the best friends. You may have met long ago in some international conference, but we kept up our friendship.
Because you're respecting each other's differences. You're respecting each other's differences.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what it's all about.
Respecting differences and trying to discover the commonalities.
Exactly.
And develop them.
That's a beautiful definition of friendship.
We don't have to convert people.
Exactly.
We have to win friends and build bridges of friendship.
And also realize that, you know, not everyone is going to think like you. There are so many people who are different, and that is the beauty of life. Dr. Ikram Azam, thank you so much for being with us here today. The conversation has flowed beautifully. You have been a wonderful guest, and you know, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you so much. Bless you. And we hope to meet again and remain in touch.
Inshallah, God willing. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful program. I've really enjoyed speaking to our guest, Dr. Ikram Azam. He had gems of wisdom to share with us. And these are those things that we carry on. They're our legacy, actually. We carry these on inside us, and to share and impart knowledge on everyone that we meet in life. I think that's the greatest gift of all. So until next week, bye-bye.